let's begin. This meeting will be held in accordance with Executive Order N-29-20 issued by California Governor Gavin Newsom on March 17, 2020. The Ralph M. Brown Act, California Government Code Section 5495.
Bob, we can't hear you. Commissioner Katchel, we cannot hear you. Commissioner Katchel, can you hear me? We're not hearing you. I don't know if we're going to hear Mr. Katchel. Gary Del Nero, is it possible for you to chair this meeting this evening?
If that's what you want, you betcha. You got it.
Thank you, sir.
I'll start out with conflict of interest declaration. Would that be okay to start with that?
We actually need to call the meeting to order.
Okay. I'll be calling the meeting to order, the Planning Commissioner meeting Tuesday, September the 8th at a little after 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep, I'm going to share my screen and you're only one going to be giving the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America for the, now I'm going to,
I'll do it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. Okay, moving forward.
Roll call.
Yes, please note that Chairperson Smith is excused this evening. So we have Commissioner Del Nero,
Present.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Katchel, he was here, and Commissioner Silvera.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go to conflict of interest declaration. Does anyone have a conflict of interest? Okay, hearing none. Citizen communications. While the Planning Commission welcomes and encourages participation in Planning Commission meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes. Resolution 212-132 for expression of non-agenda items, matters under the jurisdiction of Planning Commission, prohibits the Planning Commission from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Planning Commission. Citizens are entitled to address the Planning Commission on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. Ann, is there anybody that would like to talk now?
Well, let me read the other part that Mr. Katchel was going to read so the public is aware. It says public comments will now be accepted through Zoom. For those participating through the web, please raise your hand to request to speak using the hand icon located at the bottom right of your screen. If you are participating by phone, please press *9 on your phone. Names will be called in the order the requests are received, and your microphone will be unmuted when it's time for you to speak. And now we'll see if there's anyone that would like to speak in the public.
Okay.
I don't see any hands raised. Do you, Mr. Westbrook?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
Okay. And I have not received any comments via email, so we can move on to the consent calendar.
Clerk's reporting and posting.
Well, I'll go ahead and read all the 3 items on the consent calendar. Okay, all matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. If discussion is required, that particular item will be removed from the consent calendar and it will be considered separately. Item 1, Clerk's Report of Posting. The agenda for the regular meeting of the Planning Commission of September 8th, 2020 was posted on September 2nd, 2020. Item 2A, Approval of Minutes from the July 20th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, and all commissioners were present. Item 3A, General Correspondence, Information Only, Series Downtown Revitalization Area Board, Fiscal Year 2019-20 Quarterly Report for the fourth quarter.
Okay, having those are, do we need a vote on this?
Yep. Need a motion to approve.
Do we have a motion to approve?
No,
Motion approved.
2 and 3.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, you want to,
Okay, I'll call the roll vote.
there you go.
Commissioner Silvera,
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Del Nero,
Aye.
and I don't know if Commissioner Tatchell can hear, so we'll say motion passes 3-0 with 2 absent, since Commissioner Catchell is not participating, okay?
Okay, then consider items removed from the consent calendar. Was there any? No.
there was none.
Okay. We go down to public hearings.
Yep.
Conditional use permit, CUP 1312 amendment. Proposal for a conditional use permit to allow El Ramado Flea Market to operate 4 days a week, Thursday through Sunday, and operate a food vendor truck park Monday through Thursday at the southeast portion of the site located at 3025 and 3113 Crows Landing Road. Cotels Corporation applicant. Okay, staff.
Thank you very much. James Michaels with the Planning Division. Just to give you some background, hey, Mr. Westbrook, can you please first put up page 1 of 2, the site plan? Okay, 2 of 2. That's good enough. That'd be fine. So just some quick background information. The El Ramado Flea Market is an open market business that had been operating at the subject site 3025 to 3113 Crows Landing Road for a number of years under the Stanislaus County jurisdiction until June of 2012, when it was officially annexed into the city of Ceres. Now, long before the annexation of this property was considered, the flea market owners and the county were working toward addressing the impact that the shortfall in parking areas for customers was having on the area. Once the site was annexed into the city, city staff continued working with the owners to get this issued address, in which the owners filed for a conditional use permit entitlement to allow for additional parking area needed to accommodate the flea market operation. In March 2nd of 2015, the City Planning Commission approved a conditional use permit request, which included the construction of the Pedro Marquez Avenue and traffic signal at the intersection of Crows Landing and Pedro Marquez Avenue, as well as several roadway improvements within Crows Landing, such as a median and deceleration lane with curb gutter sidewalk improvements, frontage landscaping with a perimeter fence with block wall, and an additional 765 parking spaces at the northern end of the property for a total project parking area consisting of 1,493 spaces to serve the operation. Well, the owners completed the construction of those improvements in late 2019. Now, following completion of those improvements, the applicant reached out to staff in early June of this year to indicate that the recent completion of those improvements generated a need to achieve a financial balance for the flea market operation to help offset the cost increases associated with that parking lot project. And so what the applicant is looking to do tonight is to amend the conditional use permit to allow the flea market to use to expand its operation, going from operating 3 days per week on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays to operating 4 days a week to include Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And they also have a desire to operate a food vendor truck park at the southeast portion of the site, as illustrated on the site plan. You can move it to, yeah, there you go, Tom. Thank you. And they would be operating that for 4 days a week on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. It is anticipated that the 112 parking stalls just west of the food truck park will provide enough parking to serve customers during those Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. During the Thursdays operation, when running in conjunction with the flea market, all of the remaining parking areas would be open and available to serve both the flea market and the food truck park uses. And finally, one of the things that the applicant had requested originally with the city was to allow for up to 54 trucks and trailers to be potentially permitted for the operation. Not that the applicant has that, they don't yet, but it was a request. But staff was in the opinion that we don't know what the negative impact would be if 54 trucks and trailers were potentially permitted at any one time. And so we added a recommendation, a condition of approval be imposed where the city staff conducts a 180-day trial period for this food truck park operation to determine if there are any negative impacts to the area resulting from the operation that requires maybe some corrective measures as determined by staff to address those impacts. And so part of that condition would be limiting the applicant's number of vendors. Staff is recommending 20 food truck vendors to start for this 180-day period, which the vehicles would be situated again in the parking lot's interior as illustrated by the site plan. They would remain out of the drive-out access areas. The trial period would not commence until the flea market actually has the trucks on site and selling food. And that could be, happen as soon as maybe 1 to 2 months from the time that Planning Commission took action on this. Finally, if after the trial period is complete and staff determines no complaints have been received about the operation, then staff has the discretion of permitting up to a maximum of 30 food truck operators for the truck park. Staff in general is supportive of the applicant's request, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
Okay. Thank you so much. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? Mr. Michael, I think I have
Just
one.
ask staff if they had questions or.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at, they're wanting to extend this on Thursday and Friday. Has there been a lot of attention paid to the different type of traffic that will be dealt with on a Thursday, Friday versus a Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah. Generally, Sunday's their heaviest day. Saturday would be the next. They've already operate on Friday now. The flow in that area is heaviest on the Sundays, is when they have the most attention and attendance at their flea market. So Thursday will be pretty considerate of what Friday impacts are, which are very minimal. And I do think that we have Commissioner Catchell again joining us. Just needs to unmute his mic. Does that answer your question, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah.
I have one question. I believe I read that there was no major incidences with the flea market as of this date. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because that was a pretty big component for me that they weren't having a lot of problems over there. So that's good.
Commissioner Catchell, can you hear us? Your phone is on mute. We'll just keep moving on.
Okay.
Great.
Any Any further discussion with the commissioners?
I have a couple things, comment and then a question. Looks like police and fire. I've looked at this and don't see an issue with it. Also that all vendors will have to have City of Ceres business licenses, which is good. And then my only question would be, and I guess it's implied, is after it starts 6 months later, we would revisit this to see if it would be more permanent and they could add more vendors.
I think that's the thought process there. I think, James, you can correct me. I think we would kind of written the approval up to 30 trucks, not really more than 30. Realistically, we would bring it back to the commission if there was issues. If there weren't any issues, we'd want them to just continue on the manner that they had been. So, you know, from a business perspective, they don't really know how many trucks they can get, how successful it will be. So they're taking a little bit of a risk to try to get this going and see if it's something that would be popular in the community.
And you're correct, Tom, that is the intent of the condition. So it would be at the end of the 6 months, staff would look into to see if there were any issues or not. And if there weren't, then we had the staff discretion to allow them to up to 30.
Mr. Tatchell, I think we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, yeah, I've heard for the last several minutes, so go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm having trouble, obviously.
I do know that the Mr. Del Nero, the applicant's representative, is here and would like to speak if you have questions for them.
Well, yes, sir. I was just going to get to that after we were finished. If we want to go to that now, that would be great.
So you just need to open the public hearing.
Okay, we're going to close it from here and open up the public hearing. Is there someone, I don't know how we do this. I'm sure you know somebody's ready to talk from.
Yep. The applicant's representative, Rick Mummert from Benchmark Engineering, has raised his hand. Rick, you should be unmuted. You can speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you, Rick.
Acting Chairman and fellow commissioners, Rick Mummert, Benchmark Engineering, 915 17th Street, Modesto. Been working on this project since early 2000s, 2001 or 2, and continue to do so. Thanks for hearing our request tonight. As Mr. Westbrook mentioned, that there were significant cost increases for the Pedro Marquez Avenue, the traffic signals. A lot of you are probably familiar with the construction costs these days, but it was substantial. It wasn't quite double what the original budget was, but it increased substantially. That we have asked, and when we inquired, we just want to make sure that we were living up to our end of the deal by installing the improvements that we had approved from the previous conditional use permit, which included the roadway and the signals. So I think it's flowing really well. And we have a lot of stalls out there. We've read, thank you for staff meeting us out at the site and going through everything. We read all the conditions of approval, and I think Orlando's on the phone also, if you have any questions for the owner. But you know, a couple things different from the application to what we discussed was first, it was the hours of the food truck operation. We were hoping to go past that 6 p.m. We actually, in our application, was dawn to dusk, and you know, we think that 6 p.m. is a little early for people getting off work to be able to come to this. We wanted to thrive coming out of the gate. We don't really want it to fizzle out and have people drive from whatever business that they're in the area, especially, you know, the county workers across the street. It'd be easy to come over and get over there before 6, but others coming from other parts of Ceres, we want to make sure that we're able to service them and have you take a look at that.
Yeah, I think Planning Commission staff overlooked that. We have no issues with the request from Mr. Mummert to do dawn to dusk, so that's acceptable to us.
Yeah, that is correct. That's correct, Tom. That was just, put in there originally long ago when, and it was just the intent at 6 p.m. Meant dusk, you know. So
It was probably just consistent with the flea market hours.
Right.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, okay. And then I guess if this is an overwhelming success, I see the staff takes it from 20 to 30 on staff approval. If it's really working well and we see a need, we could come back to the Planning Commission after the 6 months.
Yep.
Yep, that's
Correct.
correct.
All right. Orlando, do you have anything to say?
Let me see if I can. Okay, Orlando, I think I've unmuted you. Your phone would be *3, I think, to unmute if you'd like to say something.
I could take care of it, Tom.
Okay.
So I think that's the only major thing that Orlando and I discussed. He was also at the site meeting with us, so we really look forward to working with staff and getting this new venture off the ground. So thank you.
So Chair, I don't see anybody else's hand raised, so you could essentially close the public hearing and take it back to the commission for deliberation.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and take it back to the commission. Does anyone like to talk on this from the commission?
Yeah, hi, it's Brett Silvera. Just one clarification. So the hours for the flea market would continue to be until 6 o'clock, but the food truck park would go until dusk. Is that correct?
Correct. You're correct.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, with that in mind, would anybody like to make a recommendation?
I'll be glad to. This is Commissioner Silvera. Resolution BC 24, resolution of the City of Ceres Planning Commission approving a proposal for conditional use permit to allow El Ramontito Flea Market to operate 4 days a week, Thursday through Sunday, and operate a food vendor truck park Monday through Thursday at the southeast portion of the site located at 3025 and 3113 Crows Landing Road, application number 13-12 CUP amendment.
And we'll just note that time change, Commissioner Silvera, in your motion, just that they can run the food truck from dusk to dawn, or dawn to dusk.
Sure, add to my motion that the flea market portion would remain the hours till 6 p.m. Food truck vendor park would be until dusk.
Okay, do I have a second? Anybody like, okay,
I keep unmuting and it keeps muting me. I'll second that.
well, one or the other. Okay, Ann, you want to take roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Silvera?
Aye.
Commissioner Catchell?
Yeah,
Commissioner Del Nero?
Aye.
And Commissioner Johnson?
Motion
passes 4-0 with 1 absent.
That's awesome. Be a good project. Next is development agreement DA 1712's second amendment, proposal to consider a second amended development agreement by and between the City of Ceres, Gantry Holdings of California Incorporated, and Casali Corporation Incorporated for an existing operation located at 1442 Angie Avenue. Patient care first applicant. Staff?
Thank you very much. So in November of 2017, the City Council had approved a conditional use permit and a development agreement between the city and the applicant that would allow the applicant, Patient Care First, to operate as a retail dispensary service for cannabis within the existing industrial zone building at 1442 Angie Avenue. The development agreement was approved to allow the applicant to operate for a 3-year period, which is set to expire on November 13th of 2020, unless the agreement can be renewed and extended prior to the expiration date. In July of this year, the applicant reached out to staff to discuss a proposed second amendment to the agreement, which would update the agreement to reflect the current operations of the business and set the terms for a longer-term operation. And so the applicant is requesting the adoption of a second amendment to the previously approved development agreement. The amendment would extend the terms of the agreement for a 10-year period in lieu of a 3 years. It also include a delivery service component that would be added to the overall operation, and the public benefit payment structure would also be updated to be more reflective of the current cannabis business market conditions. So as the agreement will ultimately be considered by City Council, there is a resolution for the Commission to consider with a recommendation that the City Council adopt the ordinance to amend the agreement. Staff is in support of this amendment. The applicant will still be required to pay a public benefit to the city that is based upon the revenue generated by the business. Approving the amendment will help maintain a positive fiscal balance for the city, as the amendment will promote the generation of additional sales tax revenues for the city over a 10-year period instead of the previous 3-year period. And the applicant is willing to work with the city to remain compliant with the conditions of approval for the operation. One note is to date, the applicant has made the required public benefit payments per the existing agreement in a timely manner. And so it is expected the applicant will continue to do so in the future with the terms and conditions with the second amendment. One other thing to bring up is that the applicant has been operating at this location again for the last 3 years. To date, planning staff has not received any complaints about the operation. And so we believe the existing conditions of approval imposed from the use permit and the terms and agreement from the second agreement would ensure the applicant's business operation will function in a manner so as not to be detrimental to the public health and safety of the city's residents. The applicant is aware of these expectations and understands that the approval of this amendment can be revoked if the operation is found not to be in compliance with these conditions. So that concludes staff's presentation.
Any members want to ask a question to staff?
Yeah, James, you indicated that the agreement's being updated to reflect the current cannabis market business situation. Could you briefly summarize what changes there have been or what the current status is, maybe?
So I'll take that one, Bob. So I think
Okay.
that when this agreement was done, the cannabis market in kind of Stanislaus County was pretty new. And so the parties had to kind of come up with a public benefit structure that they thought would work. Now, 3 years later, there are more opportunities in other locations within our county that do a very similar business. As a result of that, perhaps that old public benefit fee structure needed to change. And so essentially it had what we had seen in the original agreement was a public benefit fee that was capped based upon the number of sales, number of sales amount each month. That cap was 100,000. Essentially what staff is recommending to adhere is lower that to $70,000 cap, and then it would go down from that point in time. As Mr. Michaels indicated, that there is, unlike the original agreement that was for medicinal only, there is some sales tax component of some of the sales at this dispensary. So the city and staff feels really comfortable in kind of moving forward with the agreement like we have. Additionally, the original term was for 3 years. The applicants are requesting that it be for a period of 10. So staff is supportive of both of those items. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Tom, I have a question. Other cities, et cetera, are they going with a 10-year agreement, or is this pretty normal?
10 years, I think, we're probably some of the first out of the gate. And the reason, we can ask the applicant. I think that they probably know more about the industry than I would. But because this is one of the first development agreements within the county, I think this is probably the first time it's being asked. I was hopeful just from a standpoint of the city when we started the dialogues with the applicant and the ownership group is that we could go for a 5-year agreement. But they said for their business and what they want to invest in the Ceres community and at their site, the 10-year period was better for them in the long term so that they had more stability. So staff is recommending the 10 years just like they requested.
Okay, thank you so much. Planning Commissioners, anybody else? Okay, we'll close it and then
Well, open the public hearing. Let's open the public hearing.
that's what I was getting at. Thank you, Tom. We'll open up the public hearing. Is there anybody on the other side that wants to talk?
We do have the applicant representative, Devin Stetler and Ron Roberts. Gentlemen, can you hear us?
We can. Good evening, Chairman, Planning Commission, and City Manager. We're here to answer any questions you may have.
Planning Commissioner, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I don't.
Anybody, anything further to add from the applicant on this, or we're going in the direction you want to go?
That's correct. We are headed in the direction that we'd like to go.
Okay. Hearing that, anything further from the Planning Commission?
And I don't see anybody else with their hand raised, Commissioner Del Nero.
So I'll close it. Any further discussion from or a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Good.
They move that we accept the Second Amendment to the existing development agreement. That's DA 17-12. Is consistent with CEQA guidelines section 15061B3. That's for existing facilities. And recommend the City Council adopt an ordinance that amends the development agreement DA 17-12 for the cannabis business between the City of Ceres Guarantee Holdings of California, Inc. and Pacafi Cooperative, Inc. Draft PC Resolution 20-25.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Ann, you want to poll?
Certainly. Commissioner Catchell,
Aye.
Commissioner Silvera,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Nero,
Aye.
and Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with 1 absent.
Good luck, gentlemen, if you can still hear me on the phone there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. Now we'll go down to new business is none. Public meetings, none. Unfinished business, none. Are we going to go into the Ceres Downtown Revitalization Board or not?
No, sir.
That's just for information, Tom?
Correct. That was just information only.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I wasn't too sure. Matters initiated by the commission and staff, none. Reports, commissioners. We'll start with Mr. Catchell since we can't see him.
Well, this is a very 2020 kind of meeting, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
If it can go wrong, it did go wrong. I don't know what happened, and I apologize for any
Yes.
screw ups on my end. I did everything I thought was right, but didn't work this time. So no, other than that, I have nothing.
Okay. Mr. Johnson.
Nope, just scan the heat, everybody. This is crazy.
Mr. Silvera.
I'm just happy with both matters that we saw tonight and heard that they're both reasonable and responsible for revenue and resources moving to the future. So we need to keep doing, gentlemen.
All right, awesome. And I really don't have anything. Okay, Staff, do you have anything?
I'll just mention that COVID numbers in our county continue to drop. We're hopeful that we don't see any spikes as a result of the Labor Day festivities that we just experienced last weekend. If that is the case, staff is probably going to be looking to have you all gather again for our planning commission meetings. We've got a new audiovisual system in our chambers that we want to try out, but we're hoping to get you back together soon. And that's it.
That'd be awesome. Is
That works for me.
there any other staff, or are we almost finished there, sir?
Nothing for me.
Nothing from me.
It's still a pleasure to hear from everybody. We haven't heard from everybody in about a month, so that's been awesome. And we'll adjourn it to the next regular scheduled meeting, Monday, September the 21st.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Chair.
You betcha.
Thank you, Gary.
You
See you,
bet.
everyone.
Take care.
Good night.